Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special edition of Soul School. It is my honor and my privilege to present to you one of Detroit's finest. This cat is out of Detroit, and it's funny because when you think about Detroit, you automatically think Motown, but there's been so many other different people like who was it? Ray Parker Jr., Michael Henderson, Nathan Watts, a lot of different people, Donald Byrd, Kevin Tony of the Blackbirds on the under, that has come out there that really has a whole separate type of deal. Well, we got one of the baddest cats who has such a catalog of work, sessions, live, you name it, this cat has done it. I could really go into it, but I'd rather let my man talk about it. Please welcome to the show the one and only guitar extraordinaire, Ricky Rouse. Man, I finally got you, man.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
I've been trying to get you for like about a year or so, man.
Yeah. We've been talking about it, so now it's time to get it done.
Oh, man. Take us back to the beginning for Ricky Rouse. How did all this get started for you as far as you playing and just being introduced to music?
Well, I was like a prodigy. I got my first guitar when I was about 3, and they found out I could really play, So by the time I was 5, my earliest memory only go back to about 5. So, but I was playing then, and I could, I remember me and my auntie went on this trip to Trenton, New Jersey on the train, and I made $75 playing for the soldiers. So I must have been able to play pretty good.
In the 60s? Early 70s?
And when I was 5, that was like, like
wow.
60.
No, because $75 then was a lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah, man. And I was playing like Jimmy Reed and playing honky tonk and all that. I was 5, and then so I was a child prodigy in Detroit, and it got serious. So I got an audition with Motown, and I auditioned with Stevie Wonder, and I got the audition, and it was serious enough for them to. This is 1962. It was serious enough for them to. Have Holland Dozier Holland come out to my grandfather's house, and with contracts. And I was a 7-year-old kid, and I remember that. I remember playing with Stevie, and he's on the drums, I was on the guitar, and we turned it out, and Barry was in there smiling, and Motown was real young then. It's like, it was so far back there. Stevie was trying to find his way around the studio without having let me, I gotta find my own way. I remember that, and he was like 11 and I was 7, and I got the audition, and Holland Dozier Holland actually came out to my grandfather's house with the contracts, but we found out Barry was only gonna go with one kid, so that's what happened with that. But that's how far back I go, and I was always doing little stuff as a kid in school. I would always play for whatever school I went to. I would play for the whole school. When I was like in elementary, my aunt would bring my electric guitar, and I would, every Friday or something happened, they would let me play for the whole school. In both of my elementary schools that happened. And I remember Ray Parker, we and him went to the same school. We went to Northwestern, me and him and Ollie Brown. And then
That's right, Ollie Brown is from Detroit.
And then me and Ricky Lawson went to the same school at Cooley High. See, it's 2 Cooley Highs, one in Chicago about the movie, and one in Detroit. And me and him and Eddie Watkins and some of the other good musicians, we was the talk of the town. We was like playing clubs already in high school and stuff. And we left and went on the road with a group called the Undisputed Truth. They had a record out called
Joe Harris.
Yeah, called Smiling Faces.
Yeah.
We were 17 years old, and we left school and went on the road with them. And my people was cool with it because they knew I was going to get my GED. I was pretty smart, but I had my guitar with me every day in school, and I was stone cold into the Jimi Hendrix thing. And because it was easier for me to get the Jimmy thing because I had been playing so far back.
Yeah.
So I knew the blues,
which is the base for all that stuff anyway. Right.
And I knew the licks, and I knew so, but I wanted to play it right. So when I got to be about 16, because I was in the George, I was in the slide real heavy, and I was in the Jimmy a little bit. But when I heard Band of Gypsies, I went back and got all the Jimmy stuff.
Okay.
Before he died, and then I blacked out at 16, where I was, I could walk to school, right down the street from where I was staying at. Cause we had moved to a nice neighborhood and going to this school with Ricky and all them, and I would play the stuff all night, making sure I got it right. I wouldn't. I wouldn't let myself slide. I would stay up all night, wouldn't be tired, take my guitar to school and go to school. I don't know how I did that, but I would stay up and play that stuff all night, and I would go to school and wouldn't even be tired. That's how deep I was into it. So I like blacked out in the Jimmy, and I got all the stuff. So that really helped me with my lead stuff. I always wanted to be a showman. So
you were a showman. You were a showman.
So I was cartoon back then. So I was, so like we would do all the little stuff. Then we went on the road with this group, Undisputed Truth, and then we had came back from that tour and had a little band called Legacy. We even came out here and cut an album. We came out in California and cut an album in '73. My first time coming to California, and it was with a company called Sussex. Bill Withers.
But what's the dark-skinned brother? Clarence Avant ran
that. And soon we got there and got the deal. The company folded. But the cool thing about
you were there when the Soul Searchers were there.
Yeah, we came out in '73. Yeah. We were just kids. I was like 18, and we had done this little album on a little group called Legacy. It was me and Eddie Watkins. Anyway, we came out. And we was cutting right next door to Sly Stone when he was cutting the Fresh album. Sly was on one side, and Toto was on the other side. So I remember that. And Sly was out there. He was
my tech by the camera. He back there shaking his head. We loving this, man.
Yeah. So Sly was out there in the Rolls Royce, a white Rolls Royce, and we got a chance to meet him. That was one of my heroes of all time. So. And then when George took me over his house in Beverly Hills, you always want your hero to like you, and luckily he dug me, so I was happy about that. Cause you know how stars is, they can they can give you the cold show, but Sly took me in, and I was really happy that he was he was really cool with me.
Now, if I may ask, when did you transition from Detroit out to LA? Because I know Ray Parker and Michael Henderson all ended up leaving. When did you go?
I was coming out there a lot, touring. Cause after I left the Undisputed Truth, I went with Bohannon, Hamilton Bohannon.
The tech behind the camera was telling me, he said, Calvin, I think I saw Ricky Rouse on Soul Train.
I was on Soul Train in 1974. I was on Soul Train in I was 19. On Soul Train was 1974 with Hamilton Bohannon. Matter of fact, we just went out and we did B.B. King's back in March, and we did the Howard. And the shows was great, so I'm gonna do some stuff with Bohannon in the future. He doing really good. He's 72-year-old, but he never got high, never drunk in his life. He's in great condition.
He's a legend.
And
legend.
I mean, he never stopped recording. And and I'm like his little nephew or something. We was like that, man. I'm the main cat in the group.
Now, if I may ask though, did you and Ricky transition out to LA around the same time? Because I know
Ricky left first.
He left first. Okay.
I was going to LA doing stuff. I was always going out there with different groups, and like I said, we did Soul Train and all that, and I had people in LA too, so I was cool. So I had my uncle was out there, so I was cool. But Ricky went with Roy Ayers.
That was around the time of Mystic Voyage.
He went with Roy Ayers, and then he just started climbing up with everybody.
Ricky
by the time
bag,
by the time I moved, he'd already did the Michael Jackson thing and bought this house in White Oak, and he was already really doing real well. But I didn't move out there until '86. So
is that when you first came into association with Shaka Khan, or when did you start gigging with her?
I didn't start. I knew Shaka from the Bohannon days.
Okay.
Because back in the Bohannon days, we played with all the funk groups, including George, and I was always affiliated with George since I was 14. Because George was always really big and doing albums and stuff.
Golden World and Revel.
Yeah, I knew all about all of that.
Wow.
Because I was a kid and I was so deep off into all the magazines, deep off into all the older music. Everybody was older than me because I was the kid on the block, but I could hang. I was hanging with the real older guys. So I knew about George, and I first saw George.
So Treaty Womack, all the Believable Woods, all of them were all around.
Yeah. I mean, like Treaty just did the Bohannon thing with me. Her and Carolyn Crawford, and But I knew all of them. I knew all of them. I knew everybody in Detroit of any name. I met everybody at the same time. When I was 17, I met everybody. I met everybody. But I knew George. I knew of George when I was 14 in '69 when I saw George he had Tiki, he had Billy,
Eddie,
he had Eddie.
And Tall.
He had Tall, right.
So you saw the real.
I saw the real
You saw
Funkadelic.
the first Funkadelic group.
Right, I saw Sly first. I saw Sly on the same tour that led him to Woodstock. I saw the real Sly Stone before he messing up anything when they had the white amps. And when Sly had that, he had the white on that he had on the album.
The net stuff.
Yeah. With the white boots. And Stanley had just came out. So I'm talking about like '69. Stanley had just came out, and Sly was the head of the tour. He had Miles Davis on the tour. He had Nina Simone on the tour. He had Mongo Santa Maria on the tour. He had Ruth Copeland. He had all these people.
These are heavyweights, y'all. For y'all people out there watching, this is not no small thing that everybody that he just got through mentioning are all serious.
Yeah, they was all serious, and it was Sly's tour. And he had the white amps with the lights that would psychedelic light would come out with every note. And it was that same tour that led him to Woodstock. So it was a mind-blowing show. It was the best of Sly live that you was gonna see doing, because that was when he was really on his game 100%. And I saw him first, and then 6 months later, I saw George.
Hold that thought. Let's get to some Sly Stone entertainment since he. Hey everybody, welcome back to a very special edition of Soul School, joined by the one and only Rick Rouse, one of the greatest guitar players that you'll ever see, and quite a showman. As proven last night, they went into, before we get back to talking about George Clinton, they went into a version of Let's Take It to the Stage, and man, I've not seen y'all play like that in a very long time, because the arrangement was exactly what was on the record. Of course we know the guitar parts, but the bass lines was and the horns and the keyboard parts, and you held the rhythm. You started it and just locked and stayed there. It was some Jimmy Nolan. I mean, it was some serious. You basically just held that groove, and I tell people all the time, it's funny because you can do all of the inversions and all of that other kind of stuff, but to lock that one down, lock it and hold it, and make sure that everybody is in place. Man, you held that groove last night. Man, it was special. It was special.
Really, really good night last night.
No, it was a great night. It was a great night.
It was a great one, and I appreciate that. I will always learn to be as much into the rhythm as I was into the lead. I'm not just a Jimmy. Cause by the time I got to Jimmy, I knew I played pretty good. I could play rhythm and lead, and I know the funk, all the funk. I know all the Curtis Mayfield, all the people that Jimmy went through. I had already studied too, and just so I got a good handle on. I don't never look at a guitar player as being, he's a lead player. He's a with
your timing is crazy too, because you hold time like nobody's business.
To be a guitar player, you had to play it all.
So just locking and staying there, man.
Yeah.
I was man.
So I mean, with Bohannon, it was all rhythm, and so I mean, I like to look at myself as a good and total guitar player. I could play like Wes Montgomery, or I could play like whatever, and I got my own thing. I play in different tunings and all that, but I'm just saying. I look at it as a whole jigsaw.